Finally, Hajime no Ippo reached 1,500 manga chapters. Thank you so much to everyone who's followed me up to this point. By the way, this drawing is a tribute we created together with the artist from the channel, which we posted on the platform X, formerly known as Twitter. We were lucky enough that George Morikawa, the author of the manga, actually saw it and even reacted with an emote. Now, I would have liked a different kind of response, at least a thanks or even a not sure, but the fact that he saw it already makes me very grateful. As for this week's review, we'll split it into two videos. One will focus more on Ricardo Martínez, which is this one, and the other on Takeshi Sendo because there's something really interesting we'll analyze about the tiger tomorrow. We begin the chapter exactly where we left off. Ricardo Martínez had used his left jab, his whip, to measure the distance, and while Sendo launched an attack, Ricardo fired his rifle, his right hand. The narrator tells us that Sendo keeps throwing a flurry of devastating punches, ignoring the champion's defense. Meanwhile, in his fierce clash with a wild beast, the hunter loads his rifle. This is chapter 1500, Impact. We see that bullet approaching Sendo. Ricardo Martínez lands a perfect right-hand counter that sends Sendo's face flying backward, along with a massive cloud of blood. He goes straight to the canvas in a stunning panel where the only sound effect doesn't come from the crowd, Ricardo, or even the referee. It comes from Sendo's impact on the canvas. Everyone is left completely speechless. What shocked me the most was Takamura's face. I don't think we've ever seen him this stunned throughout the entire series. Of course, the audience was also speechless, unsure of what kind of noise to even make. Let's pause here for a second to ask, what exactly was it that surprised Takamura so much? Was it Ricardo Martínez's devastating precision, his destructive power? What was it specifically? Also, I've seen a lot of comments from fans saying it doesn't make much sense that Sendo would go down from this counter, and I understand where they're coming from, but it's not just a right hand, it's a counter from Ricardo Martínez, and even though he's not especially known for destructive power, he clearly has it. I'd say it's comparable to Ippo's, just so you can get an idea of the champion's level of power. Remember, he was even able to knock out Ippo with just left jabs, back when Ippo could take a lot of punishment. We see Sendo completely down on the ground as the commentator declares that the challenger has fallen and that the champion finally unleashed his right hand, dropping the tiger in an instant. A rifle shot that lands like a bucket of cold water on the burning spectators. A bullet that silences the entire arena as the count begins, while Ricardo stands proudly in the neutral corner. Looking more closely at Ricardo, we can see a subtle reaction. His right arm starts trembling. This is due to the sheer number of blows he's blocked from the challenger. This might be Sendo's only hope for a comeback, that Ricardo loses the ability to use his right arm due to how worn out it is, causing him serious pain, possibly even a fracture. The crowd is shocked that Sendo was taken down with what looks like so little effort. Even Takamura admits he got caught completely. Ippo is also shocked, since Ricardo had used the first round to measure Sendo's reach and rhythm. Our protagonist is even more stunned than we are, asking himself whether even someone as strong as Sendo can't last 5 minutes against Ricardo Martínez. The count is already at 5, then 6, and Sendo hasn't moved a single muscle. Let's pause again. In the first round, the entire crowd, and not just the audience but other boxers too, were surprised because Ricardo Martínez, who usually takes a measured approach early in fights to study his opponents, was going all in, trading blows with Sendo. But apparently, even that strategy, which seemed like a last resort, was actually a stealthy setup to land this devastating counter. Every one of Ricardo's moves is carefully calculated. Neither the crowd nor the guest commentator want this match to end like this. Then, at the count of 7, Sendo realizes he's been knocked out, admitting it took him a while to even realize what happened. He comments on how dangerous that counter was, because as the manga has often pointed out, especially through Ichiro Miyata, the punches that hurt you the most are the ones you don't see coming. And that's exactly what happened here, because if you don't see the punch that knocks you out, it means you won't see the next one either. It shakes your confidence, leaves you feeling insecure, and of course, physically hurt. In the end, you hit the canvas. Sendo gets back up at the count of 8 and is taken straight to the hospital. His teacher and grandmother are there, visibly worried, watching the fight, seeing something incredibly important. Sendo says his grandmother is waiting for him, that he can't let the fight end like this. And here, I want to pause again, not to analyze it yet, but because I think this small line justifies everything that's happening, but that's a discussion for tomorrow's video, so stay tuned and subscribe. The crowd was shocked by Sendo's attitude. He was fired up. He still had fight left in him. Everyone was starting to believe in the Tiger of Naniwa again. The fight resumes with the Japanese challenger charging straight at the champion. Miyata says that what Sendo should really do is stay back and recover from the damage. But Ippo disagrees, saying he should stay close. Then Date chimes in and says Sendo should force another exchange. Basically, these three boxers are each saying what they would do if they were in his shoes. Sendo keeps repeating that his grandmother is waiting for him. His punches are frantic, but nothing too impressive. So for Ricardo, it's not hard to dodge and land some jabs, all while continuing to block Sendo's lefts with his solid guard. The crowd starts regaining hope. Sendo is putting on pressure, and with his powerful lefts, he's making the champion back off. Ippo wonders if Ricardo has already figured out Sendo's rhythm and range. Miyata confirms that he has. Ricardo just used Sendo's left to measure the distance. In other words, Ricardo is going to keep countering. Everything about Takamura's commentary will also be saved for tomorrow's video. I think there's a lot to say about it. We see Sendo throwing a right hand, still thinking about his grandmother, only to be met with another monstrous right from Ricardo, again raising a cloud of blood and knocking him down completely. Once again, the Mexican champion's destructive power is made clear, and we see Takamura with a very serious expression. Unfortunately, we'll have to wait almost 3 weeks for the next chapter, since next week is a holiday in Japan, so there won't be a magazine issue. Then the following week, George Morikawa will take a break. Finally, in the 3rd week, we'll get a new chapter. It's a shame, because the fight is getting really exciting. Now, before wrapping up the video, I'd like to talk more generally about the chapter. Ricardo Martínez continues to prove why he's earned that reputation of being practically unbeatable. He's not only naturally talented, he's clearly worked harder than anyone else. But something I didn't like, or rather that left me very uneasy, is how easily Sendo went down. It's obvious the Tiger is the underdog. It's obvious he has a high chance of losing, almost 100%. But to keep that little flame alive, those slim hopes that the Tiger could go far, I was hoping he'd be able to strike back, not go down so easily. Because after those 2 counters he took, I'm starting to lose hope altogether. And to be clear, I'm not saying it's wrong to believe Ricardo will win. If you're on his side, that's totally fair. But when it becomes too obvious, or when the story seems to be pushing us in that direction too strongly, I feel like some of the excitement fades. Still, I won't complain for now, because this chapter was clearly amazing. Good night, champ.